Well, here we are again with another down day from the stock market, and no mystery about this one. It's because of Israel's attack on Iran. Why is that the case? Because a full-blown war, which is what this is going to turn into, in that part of the world, is going to have a major disruption on the world's oil supply, and all these investors know it. So it's not only is it a bad thing because for that reason alone, it's also the massive uncertainty once again created by Donald Trump because he doesn't know what he's doing. So we had an agreement. I'm going to go back to some history, Craig, so you can turn it off right now if you don't want to learn anything from history. This is recent history, so you were a compos mentis to the extent that's possible back then. So you know, it just irks the heck out of me when people, I don't want to hear that history. You listen to history because that's what you learn, because these people do the same thing over and over and over again. Because they're driven by their politicians, they're driven by their ideology. They don't understand how to work problems. The Democratic Party is far better at trying to solve problems than the Republican Party, but they got plenty of problems too. The Democrats do, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that maybe this time or a little bit later. And particularly irked at Elizabeth Warren. Anyway, I don't want to digress right now. I want to focus on this war with Israel and Iran. So, history. Barack Obama and his team worked day and night to enter in an agreement with Iran to stop Iran's march toward the development of nuclear weapons. And they finally succeeded, and they put together a terrific agreement. And I know something about this, as many of you know. I have a degree in physics from Michigan. I've been a patent lawyer. I try to stay abreast, and I certainly know the basics of nuclear reactors. And I know what was going on there, and I knew about their enrichment program, and I knew that what needed to be done to stop it, and that's what happened. And you had this group of nations, with us leading the way, got Iran to agree that in return for our taking off the economic sanctions, which were crippling that country, that they would agree to basically stop their nuclear development program. And they opened their doors to all of their nuclear development areas. They destroyed some nuclear reactors. They were in total compliance with this agreement. They had, it was one of the most watched verification programs in history. And they were not doing a thing. Their program was dead in the water, because they cared more about the sanctions and joining the nations of the world economically than they did about developing nuclear weapons. So that was a great deal, and it was set to would expire October of this year. And had we stayed with that agreement by October this year, we probably would have negotiated a new agreement. But in any event, Iran would have made no progress toward enriching uranium. And this is the reason that the Israelis attacked, is because they said, probably with some justification, that by now Iran is within striking distance of developing nuclear weapons. It took them all this time, from the Barack Obama's first I think it was his first administration, all the way up to now, for them to get that far. And they would have been nowhere close to this. But what happened? Donald Trump came in, and one of the first things he did was he terminated that agreement and said the United States is not going to comply with it. It's null and void, and we're not doing it. Why did he do that? Well, who knows exactly, but he was pals with Netanyahu, and Netanyahu was constantly trying to get the United States to go in and bomb Iran, and particularly to destroy their ability to make nuclear weapons, which was obviated and became unnecessary because of Barack Obama. Donald Trump comes in and terminates that agreement. So what did Iran do? They said, well, the agreement's terminated. Let's go back to work. And they did. And this is where we are right now. Donald Trump is the one to blame for that. And so I point my finger at those of you who are sneer at history or don't care enough about it to pay attention, or worse, criticize this guy here for paying attention to history. We've lived through history. The difference between me and a lot of people is I pay attention to history. And while I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, or even if I had breakfast yesterday, I can remember what's happened, 20, 30 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 5 years ago. It's the, yesterday stuff that's a problem. Or, the thought that I was going to go do something, and then as I start to do it, I suddenly forgot what I was supposed to do, so I do something else, and then I realize I never wanted to do that something else in the first place, and then my dog is here telling me I'm an idiot, but that's personal, okay? I'm sure you have your own problems. Not like I have, but you've got problems. So that's another lesson from history. That was a problem solved. Trump unraveled that solution, and now we're in a situation where now Israel is going to war. And you can't blame him really, other than the fact that Israel was constantly attacking that agreement. And it's one of the reasons that Trump, pulled away from it, is because, Netanyahu comes over here and talks to a joint session of Congress. I remember that too, it's history. Attacking Barack Obama, the president of the host country, for this agreement, and doing everything he could to derail it. If he hadn't derailed it, or succeeded in convincing Trump to do it, he wouldn't have had to go after them now, with the attendant worldwide economic consequences, and our stock market's reflecting, right now. So the other reason the market is reflecting, I got a kick out of this, and it's not funny, but it's ironic. So I'm done with the Iranian thing. This is a separate topic, so you can leave now. I was kidding. Come back here. Jeez, I only have one person watching, and that person was just leaving. Don't pay attention to me when I say things like that. Well, I saw Trump today, and he's saying, maybe we need to make some exceptions to our rigid enforcement of throwing all these people out of the country and raiding them all over the place. Maybe we should make an exception for farm workers. Gee, I wonder why he said that. Because the farm owners who hire these people who are here without papers, or illegal, whatever you want to call them, they're losing their shirts now. They can't harvest their crops. And you know what political party most of these farm owners belong to? That's right, the Republican Party, and their big campaign donors too. So suddenly Trump said, "Oh, this is hurting my big business friends who contribute to my party. Maybe I better do something about that." So I just saw him on TV saying, maybe we should consider going a little easy on the farm workers. Well, how about all the other people who were here? How about all these people that hang out at Home Depot or whatever? You see them all over California. Some of them you see out here too in Florida, where they just want to work. And people go by, and regular people go by and pick them up and bring them to the house and have them, help them with their projects at home. And a lot of small business construction people go in there and they pick these people up and they hire them and they pay them. And they're a big contributor to the economy. I mean, if they succeed in throwing all these people out in California, you're not going to have any car washes. You're not going to have any restaurants. You're certainly not going to have any nannies. You're not going to have anybody cleaning up your yards. These people are everywhere, and they're a part of the community. Many of them are friends of people who live there, get to know them over the years, and people are angry, including Trump supporters. There was this one about this woman who was a waitress in a restaurant, and they came in and hauled her off. And all the people in this small Republican town, well, we didn't vote for this. We voted for him to get rid of the criminals, not this beloved waitress, not the farm workers, but Trump had promised they were going to get rid of all these people, and he's got this weird guy. What the hell is that guy's name anyway? He looks like a Nazi. I can't remember his name now. He reminds me a lot of that lawyer for Joe McCarthy, Cohn. I think you know who I am. This guy's got these slitty little eyes, and he's got that mean expression on his face, and he's responsible for rounding all these people up. And he told the ICE officers, "You better start picking up like 3,000 people a day." Yeah. So there aren't 3,000 criminals a day you can pick up. Remember, we're going to pick up all of these criminals. They're rapists and they're murderers and this, and of course, 99% of them are not. There's a handful who are. So when he told everybody, "I'm going to go round up these criminals, these gangsters, these gang members," he either knew damn good and well that he was lying through his teeth, or he's a complete moron. So I don't care which one it is. In either event, he shouldn't be where he is right now. So now they go, "Oh, we're going to round all these people up." Well, guess what? They can't find that many criminals. So what does that leave? Well, we'll go after everybody else. We'll go after the farm workers. We'll go after the people lining up to work construction. We'll go into the kitchens and drag them out of those kitchens. We'll find these people wherever they are, but they're illegal. Well, in California, of course, like Los Angeles, probably half the population fits into that category. They're not criminals. And here's another thing, and this is the word salad game these guys play. Well, they're criminals because they came over here illegally. That makes them criminals. Well, guess what? It doesn't make them criminal. To be a criminal, to be a convict, you have to be convicted of something. When these people come over, most of them come over here, and they either sneak across to go off and harvest crops and hurting no one, or they come in and seek asylum, in which case they are legal because they're here under a legal program that allows them to come into this country. It requires them to come into this country and seek asylum. They're not required to come into this country. They're required, if you're going to seek asylum, you have to do it in the United States. That's a terrible part of the law. And as much as I complain about it, I've never heard anybody, Republican or Democrat, say we should change that asylum law. But they should. It's easy to do. It would take a few strokes of a pen, and you would eliminate a huge draw that pulls these people in here because they want to come in and seek asylum. They can only do it by coming to the United States. And once they're here, it's hard to get rid of them. So the whole thing just it sends shivers up and down my spine, and not in a good way. So there's this is what's going on right now, and it's what the hell is that guy's name? God damn it! It'll come to me, and I'm going to have to do a whole nother podcast to explain why I can't remember his name, or my name either, for that matter. But this is what's going on. There's not enough criminals for him to keep his promise to just pick up the criminals. And by criminals, he's referring not to people who are criminals because they came across the border illegally, but they're criminals because they've come here and committed, or came here after having committed violent crimes, rape, murders, gang members, all this stuff. That's how he pitches this thing. And of course, a lot of the people who voted for Trump are good, decent people. And they did not anticipate that when he came over here, he'd start going after their neighbors and going after the guys who go pick the crops and going after people who help with construction and going after people who are their nannies. They never anticipated that's what he was going to do. Now, they should have, so they have to blame them for their ignorance, but they're not bad people. I hate to say that, but most Republicans I know are actually good people. And they're shocked at what he's doing because they thought, well, he's just going to round up these millions of criminals he tells us are here. Why do you believe anything this guy tells you? So millions of criminals, and we're going to pick them up, and we're going to get rid of them and make this country safe again. Make America safe again. Massa. Yes, sir, massa. So that's what you're dealing with here. Now he realizes that there's no way in heck I'm going to find that many criminals around, because the reality is the vast majority of these people are not criminals. They're hardworking people coming over here just trying to survive and maybe some money back home to their families. They're good people. They're the salt of the earth. I had people work for me when I was in California with my house doing construction, fixing my house. They were wonderful. They were always early. They stayed late. They charged me very little, and they were just good people, and very responsible, very reliable. And it's a shame what's happening to them as human beings. And this is but it's also wreaking havoc with the stock market, because now all of these the tariffs are doing that. So we're starting to see, containers. This is where containers just come and offload into trucks. They're empty. The product supply from China is dried up, and who knows if they can negotiate their way back. He keeps saying, we got a deal, but nobody tells us what the deal is. So, but what we do know is that we have a lot of activity which is involved unloading of cargo from China. It's not happening. Ports are empty. The inland ports are, they load them from the trains onto the trucks. No activity there at all. People standing around waiting to be called, and there's nobody to call them because there's no products. So you throw that in there. You throw in the farmers having a problem. They can't get their crops in, and that's just farmers too. I mean, all kinds of people. I saw some guy on TV today was talking about it. He's got a business that relied heavily on these people to come in and package up products that they were shipping all over the place. They're gone. They can't do it. We don't have an unemployment crisis in this country. We have a shortage of labor in this country. So Trump running on we got to get more jobs for Americans. We don't need more jobs. We need more people to do these jobs. And we've got these people coming over here, and they're a huge boon to the economy. And instead of saying, oh, well, they're illegal, they came over here illegally, they should change the laws, as Ronald Reagan tried to do. Again, I remember history. And if you don't blame me. You need to go back and refresh your recollection that the things I'm telling you are true. And particularly with Ronald Reagan, he did a lot of bad things, particularly this trickle-down economics nonsense. But one thing he did do was try to make this country safe for these people that are coming in. He didn't do it because of his eleemosynary intentions. He did it because he had his eyes right there on the same people that are now getting Trump's attention, which are farm owners. And so Ronald Reagan wanted to make a path for not only these people to stay here legally, but often to apply for citizenship. And particularly people who've been here for 15, 20 years, working in a restaurant or working wherever, and paying taxes, paying Social Security, not getting any Social Security benefits because they're not allowed to. So Ronald Reagan tried to do something about that, and he had the support of the Democrats, but he couldn't get the support of the Republicans. Because their people were going to say they had to deal with, frankly, particularly in the South, this kind of racism. And you know what's ironic? The states that have the most contact with the illegals have the least antipathy toward them. They're most accepted in places like California and parts of Texas and a lot of parts of Florida, where the people really don't like them here and think it's a big deal that they shouldn't be here. Often insular southern states that don't have any of these people there. So they're angry about things that are going on in other states that don't impact them at all. And the people where people are coming in, particularly California, they welcome those people. They know they need them, and often they're friends of theirs, they're parts of the community. So I just think that's kind of an irony that the people most affected, who you think would be the ones to blame the most. What's with all these people coming over here? There's millions of these Mexicans going. And incidentally, people are demonstrating and waving Mexican flags. Those are the ones that ought to be in jail, just for totally undermining their case. What the hell they think they are? They can come over here and wave Mexican flags, in showing their opposition to American office holders. You don't need to do that, folks. Put the damn Mexican flag back where you got it. Yeah, in Mexico. You can mail it back. You don't have to hand carry it. You've got a position, it's legit, state it. But don't get involved in this wacko craziness. Oh, I've got an Mexican flag. So what are you? So you're saying that you want the United States, you want to go back to Mexico? Or you want California to become part of Mexico? What do you want? They don't know what they want. They're just idiots. Anyway, be that as it may, it's not my job to sit here and criticize. It's my job to sit here and point out the problems that we have in this country and the economic problems that we have that are going to be intensified are unnecessary. Joe Biden left this country's economy in great shape, regardless of whether he was losing his mind or not. His people weren't. He had a great team, and that great team had good, solid economic principles, and the stock market was like, with 45,000, it's now hovers around 40,000. So, and I'm not saying that's the only metric, but it's a metric, and it's an indication of the attitude of the people. And the attitude of the people right now, from all the polls I can see, is they don't like what Trump is doing with immigration. They don't like the way he's going about it, and they certainly don't like what he's doing with tariffs. And his marks on the economy are way down because people see what's going on. So he doesn't care. He just keeps marching right along. But I blame the people who voted for him, because as his people are in his cabinet, his butt kissers unanimous, BKU, they're all pointing, well, the people voted for him to do these things, like violate the Constitution, to deprive people of due process. Yeah, but he was elected by the people. Well, that's why we have a constitution, so that the masses can't go around taking rights away from minorities. That's why we have these provisions in the Constitution, folks. But what people didn't vote for was the kind of cruelty in which this administration is engaging. They didn't vote for the impact of tariffs, because most of them never think these things through. And I have found that many people who support Donald Trump and MAGA, and often the Republican Party generally, are ignorant of history. They don't know these things that annoy Craig and other people. Oh, you're talking history. Yeah, I remember what the philosopher said. I forget which philosopher it was. I think it was me. Anyway, is that those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Unfortunately, when they repeat it, the rest of us suffer the same consequences we suffered when they did it the last time. So, so I'm not apologizing for talking about history. That's one of the advantages of getting a little senior. Forgetting things is not an advantage, but remembering things that happened in the past, particularly as it relates to the economy, that gives you a lot more insight than if you don't remember those things or never understood them in the first place. So, enough of that. I'm starting to bore myself. I heard that. All right. Bye, folks.